Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
Good to be back here on Go Island after a short break. Thank you, Annette, for doing such a fine job over the past week. Today on Go Island, we are spending some time here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery. It's a very personal exhibit told through textiles. On today's show, a community project goes back in time in Duncan, calendar pets in Nanaimo, and Crime Stoppers, a woman attacked at Westwood Lake. That and more in the next 30 minutes. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Threads of Memory is a textile exhibit on now until the end of June at the Art Gallery in downtown Nanaimo on Commercial Street. Lee Rydell's mother was born in Nanaimo in 1941. She graduated from Nanaimo District Secondary in 1958. She was valedictorian, and after her death in Nanaimo in September of 2011, Lee discovered history through the eyes of someone who never called herself an artist, but as we're going to see later on this edition of Go Island, very much was. What did she leave behind? Well, she left behind a perspective and observations of culture, life, and, well, being alive. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, as I mentioned. But first, we're going to head down to Duncan. It's an ancient building material that goes back to prehistoric times, and now it's being used to construct a community kitchen, a community project in Duncan. Here's Jen Moranis. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Threads of Memory runs here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery downtown until June the 30th. There's a happening, some storytelling, exchanging of ideas and stories and memories taking place with the curator, Lee Rydell. That's on Tuesday, the 25th of June from 5 until 7. And then there's a dance event taking place right here in the Art Gallery as well on Saturday, June the 29th at 1 o'clock. You can get more details on both of those events through the Nanaimo Art Gallery downtown. This is Lee Rydell. She is the curator. This is a look into your mother's world. The exhibit is threefold, an homage to your mother, a look into the world of textile art, and then finally an exploration of memory and how fabric can tie the memory together.
Absolutely.
This was your baby blanket.
This was, yes, indeed, the baby blanket that was made by my mother and my paternal grandmother in the mid-70s for me. So certainly it's an easy place to start in terms of looking at a piece that is very significant from the times. The 1970s Holly Hobby, for example, was hot. Holly Hobby was everywhere. We're looking at these colors. I mean, that mustard is indeed the mid-70s, and you know, and for a baby quilt, to not have it be pink or blue, this is also a sign perhaps of the times, and I shall say feminism.
And how it holds the memory is something that you spoke about. How you feel about this piece of art now is very different than the memories you had of it. And so it is still a living thing in a way.
And all things shift. Our stories shift. How you felt about your parents as a teenager has shifted, right? And these are where how you can have a piece of textile that will carry memories and stories as they change over time. It's a very interesting aspect of the practice itself. So it's not just color. It is very much alive. It's not static. Yes, it can have a life as big as you want to give it.
And that is very big for you right now. This whole process has opened up so much knowledge for you about your family, which brings us to this quilt over here.
Indeed.
And we're gonna come right over to it. But an Amish influence, and you didn't know that there was Amish influence in your family, and now you do know that maybe there is.
I do know that there maybe is, yes, through my maternal grandfather, who was actually born in Pennsylvania. And again, only through having been here in the Nanaimo Art Gallery with the archives right downstairs, where I've been able to go and spend time and dig through their papers.
Okay, I don't know a lot about the Amish culture. I don't know a lot about quilting. And I've heard you in our previous conversations talk about a feminist color. Is there, and it seems like a very odd mix of these three things.
Shall we say the practice itself has a deep essence of feminism in it, even as women in particular were working within color and form constraints.
Okay.
Solid black.
So women were told that they couldn't work in certain colors?
Yes.
Wow, I
and
wouldn't
certain
do well
patterning,
in that society.
and certain patterning. So to be able to work well within the strengths of a solid black background, primarily, predominantly, perhaps, with solid colors, yeah, it sets the stage for then a very interesting expression. Okay. And I personally consider it to be very successful. Like, these quilts are very engaging, and looking in books at Amish work, it's very, very beautiful.
And she was good at it. Your mother was good.
My mother
at
was
the
good,
textile
and she was
art.
committed, and she has had a very long relationship with color, shall we say.
We're going to talk a bit more about that later. When they went into her house after your mother died in September of 2011, it was an explosion of color. That has how it was described. It's an installation piece, Threads of Memory, and Lee is a part of that installation. We're going to explore more of that later on this edition of Go Island. In the meantime, it's that time of year where you probably aren't thinking about calendars unless you're producing one, and that's exactly what the SPCA is doing. Here's Kelly Robinson. Still ahead today on Go Island, a woman is attacked at Westwood Lake. Crime Stoppers wants your help. Scouting for a new hut and idioms. That and more still to come today on Go. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4 as part of the Threads of Memory exhibit running at the Nanaimo Art Gallery downtown until the end of the month. There are sweaters, and it's a bit of hard to explain. Lee Rydell went through her mother's things. She was very inspired by Cafe Facet. You can see one of the sweaters that she created based on his inspiration here, and some others are here on exhibit in Threads of Memory that runs through until the end of June. We're going to throw things over now to RCMP Constable Gary O'Brien. There was an attack at Westwood Lake recently, and that is the topic of our new installment of Crime Stoppers. I will admit that after hearing stories like that, I'm a little bit leery about running around Westwood Lake. Time for some self-defense courses, I would say. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're going to take another look now at a story that ran not too long ago about a scout hut in Nanaimo that is looking for some much-needed funding to do some much-needed repairs. Here's Derek Johnstone. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Threads of Memory runs here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery until the end of June. It's an installation exhibit. What have you created, Lee, in the space here? Because I've never seen the gallery look like this.
Ah, I see. Well, I mean, certainly we took over the space a bit differently, but in terms of my own work, you'll have to come down that last week. I'm going to be taking over the back corner over there, which is currently my dining room office, and I will be putting in an installation that is my own work, talking about my experiences of mothering, how I have been mothered and how I have mothered.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I am here working in the space on that piece, and I am here every day. So I'm curator slash guide slash storyteller.
And people come in and just start these conversations with you, and you've been milling about, you've been folding blankets and putting them away and coming out of the back with a cup of tea, and you feel very settled here.
Absolutely.
And it's been part of your journey. And so I'm seeing two folds of life in this exhibit now. The people that come in and exchange with you are changing it.
I mean, that is in some ways, for me, the actual exhibit in terms of back to storytelling and back to how textile holds memories. The exchanges and the dialogues I have here. I've heard about Norwegian knitting patterns. I've heard about aunts and grandmothers and their quilts and sweaters. You know, it's a very engaging medium to begin with. Between the color aesthetics, the tactile nature of needing and wanting to touch these pieces. This is how they have life, as well as, again, often the collective practice, meaning most of these pieces, well, maybe not for my mother in terms of her later work, but often this kind of practice comes with a group who is getting together, sharing tea, talking, sharing tips, telling where their lives are at, inspiring each other towards a piece, helping each other finish these pieces that then go out to be places of love and memory for other people as they're used as blankets or as quilts or as tablecloths or as sweaters that you wear.
Or sets for television.
Or sets for television. That's right.
It's a closure for you.
Yeah, there are layers of this. Closure and exploration. Closure, almost, it's more than closure, it's celebration.
Right.
Right, in terms of, Sure, having people come in and be inspired by what they see, having people come in and have an opening to start to talk with me about their own histories with textile and their families. It's a celebration of life and color and pattern. That comes from a place that, you know, is done by somebody specifically at home.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
going to throw things over now to our guy on the street, Dan Kahn, down in Victoria. Do you know what an idiom is? Well, I don't know if Dan does or not, but he's going to try to find out. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. Come on down and say hello to Lee Rydell, Threads of Memory here at the Nanaimo Art Gallery until the end of June. There is a happening on Tuesday, June the 25th, 5 until 7, and then a dance event taking place here in the gallery on June the 29th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm out of time as usual. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.